Welcome into the Landon Tengwall Show. As promised, every Monday following James Franklin's press conference, I watch it, I sit down, I write down my notes. As soon as it ends, I am getting you guys the meat and potatoes of everything that you need to know. So we got a new starter named at punter. Punters are people too. Many assume that our starting punter was Riley Thompson. He's been starting for a while, but we did not see a punt in Saturday's game. James Franklin came out and said Gabe Nwosu is the starting punter. 6'6", 297-pound punter. Yes, that is a big boy. I will tell you, Gabe, a lot of people are asking already on Twitter, why? Where's Riley Thompson? Gabe has a rocket for a leg. And so long, when I was on the team, he was so inconsistent. He would hit the longest punts out of all the punters, even when, you remember, Barney and Moore was here, all those guys. He was so talented, but then he would turn around and he would shank a punt 20 yards. Like, he was one of the most wildly inconsistent punters I've ever seen, but the talent, it was just so great, but you couldn't start him because you can't risk that happening. Franklin then came out and says that he is as close to Jordan Stout as anything we've had here. So it seems like Gabe locked in this offseason in the summertime, became incredibly consistent, and took over the job from Riley Thompson. I'll tell you what, I hope we don't see him again this Saturday. Keep him on the bench as long as possible. But that's great news. If you have someone that you feel like can flip the field for you, that's a game changer. I mean, special teams really is important. And if he was good enough to force a change at punter, that means that he is legit. One other note, and I think this is why Franklin compared him to Jordan Stout, he was also, Gabe Nwosu, competing for the starting field goal job as the kicker. Made a 62-yarder in practice. Franklin said it would have been good from 65. So I don't know. Maybe if we have a 60-yarder at the end of halftime, we might see Gabe Nwosu trot out there as the kicker for Penn State. So something to keep an eye on. But hopefully, like I said, we don't see him for a little bit. We got news on 60-year defensive end Zariah Fisher, who missed Saturday's game. And he was out all last year with a season-ending knee injury. Franklin said he was very close to playing Saturday. Saw tape of him on the field. He was going through warm-ups, looked like he was doing it intensely, and looked like he was ready to play. They decided not to play him in the game. They said he hasn't really practiced enough. So Franklin said, hey, I think that gives you an idea of how close he is to playing. What that tells me is Fisher very well could be back this week. I think no matter what, he's going to get eased in, whether that is this week or next week against Villanova. But we will see him in these next game or two to start to ease him back in. And, Franklin gave props. He's always going to, for the most part, he's always going to be fairly positive. He said he liked what he saw from the young defensive ends, Chaz Coleman, Ivan Kemaju, but made it clear we need a veteran presence outside of Denai Dennis Sutton severely bad. So I think we're going to get that back from Zariah Fisher. He needs to slowly work his way back in, but we need Zariah Fisher ready for Oregon in week 5. I think that is without a doubt something that we need. We have to have an older guy. We can't be relying on true freshmen that are 18 years old to play against Oregon and at Ohio State and at Iowa. We need some older guys in that room. And I will say this about Chaz Coleman and Ivan Kemaju real quick. They're 18 years old, like I said. They are going to get a lot better as this season goes on, as they get more comfortable. James Franklin mentioned that Chaz Coleman walked off the field with them and said, hey, I'm sure glad I got that one over. I was a little nervous. Now I can just play football. Chaz Coleman, I know we kind of built it up, probably partially my fault and other people's fault a little too much, that he was just going to come out of the gate and have like 3 sacks. That was never really the expectation, but we saw it on tape. He was still talented. He flew around, incredibly athletic. They are going to be great, but let's make it so they don't need to be great right away because they need some time to improve. One other piece of injury news real quick. Franklin said that Quentin Martin Jr. did not play on Saturday because he was not seen out there, suffered a tweak in camp that kept him out for about 2 weeks. So really set him back in that running back 3 battle, and then he was just cleared on game week for Nevada. So they said, hey, let's keep you out for a little bit longer. A 2 week, and he said tweak. That tells me that's probably a soft tissue injury, a hammy, something like that. So that's not something you want to rush back. But if he was almost ready to play and he was cleared, I think we will likely see him against FIU, and we'll start to get some carries there as those number 2s come into the game. James Franklin was asked who he was most impressed with in that second team offense, really. And he said, number one guy, mentioned him multiple times, Ethan Grunkmeyer, and his overall performance, said that he may have felt like Grunk played better in the game than Franklin has seen him play in practice. I thought that was an interesting comment. Looks like we have ourselves a gamer at backup quarterback. And if you were too drunk or just fell asleep by the fourth quarter when Ethan Grunkmeyer got in, we got the ball on our 6-yard line. He led a 94-yard touchdown drive that was capped off with his first career touchdown himself. And on that drive, Cam Wallace had his Saquon Barkley moment, hurdling a defender. Andrew Rappleyea had the second longest reception of the day, looking a little bit like our guy Muth in that 87. Look, the second team offense, they looked really solid. They had the best drive out of the entire offense every single day. And at that time, Nevada's first string defense was still in. So, hey, 2026, maybe not as grim as we thought it would look. And I think we have our guy for QB1 in 2026. Like I said, I think Ethan Grunkmeyer is a gamer. All right. Franklin was asked about the drive stalling out. If you've watched my videos, I mentioned all our turnovers, all our good field position starts basically led to field goals and not touchdowns. He mentioned it was a lot of minimal gains or negative plays on first downs. He mentioned, and if you watched once again, I told you guys this happened, us leaving linebackers and defensive line just there for the taking. And we did not go and pick them up. We had missed assignments. And so James Franklin said that, hey, we can't have that. We can't leave the 3 technique in the B gap unblocked. What is our running back supposed to do? So like me, I think I was a little too harsh on them, but I think James Franklin was not all the way pleased with the offensive line at times. Definitely did some great things, but there was too often we just stalled out to start the drive. And that's really staying behind the sticks. When you're in 2nd and 9, 2nd and 11, then that leads to 3rd and 7. And that's not where you want to be, especially against a team like Nevada. So something to continue to build upon. I think this offensive line is going to be just fine. They understand. They're going to watch the tape. They're going to make sure those mistakes don't happen again. Make sure we know we are combo blocking to the correct person, over communicate, and just get nasty and physical against FIU. A couple more notes. 73 guys got to play in that game. That is amazing for just getting guys reps, but also 16, 17 game season is what you're hoping to play. If you're James Franklin and company, that is the national championship. Well, you're going to have a lot of guys play. Injuries happen. You're playing an NFL season. Depth pieces are going to have to play throughout the year, and that is a great way to get them in the game. As I've told you guys, if you're a freshman and even a second-year guy and you've never played and your first game is at Iowa or at Ohio State, well, good luck, because you are going to be shaking in your boots. But if you get in and you play some against FIU and Villanova and all those guys, you feel a lot better. You feel a little bit more confident than you would if you hadn't gotten in on those games. And then last note, James Franklin was asked about tempo. That is the really hurry up offense that we ran. He mentioned the fumble that we had on the goal line that led to a field goal. He said that one of the reasons why we saw so much tempo was because Nevada was stalling. When you are a lower level team, you want to snap the ball at 5 seconds or less on the play clock every single time because you want to shrink the game. You want to make it so there's not as much time as possible and give yourself a better opportunity. So James Franklin said he got on the headset and told Andy Kotelnicki, hey, let's run a little extra hurry up to combat that. He also said that part of that reason that why he did that was because he wanted to get hurry up reps and that it's going to be an integral part of this offense this year. So that's something to watch. I think we will get better in the hurry up offense as we go. Like I said, I want to limit it to a degree. Let's work on it, but let's not overwhelm the offensive linemen. But tempo is a weapon. If you can run tempo correctly, you can be in a really good place. So something to keep an eye out on there. This was the breakdown of James Franklin's press conference, coming at you guys hot a little after, probably around 1:30, a little before 1:30. Shout out to my production team for getting all this done. They are amazing. Appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.